Scent were the first to believe to be bred back in the Middle Ages. Sniffer dogs were more recently, and some of the first sniffer dogs ever used professionally were actually brought to help the police hunt for Jack the Ripper in England in 1888. Since then, they've become a go-to tool for law enforcement agencies worldwide, found to be useful at crime scenes for trafficking down bodies or in less serious situations like the ones we were talking about. But in America, sniffer dogs and racism have evolved into um, two of the most commonly used tools for law enforcement agencies to detect marijuana. See what I did there? What happens to these canines once cannabis is legalized? Jody Gray, a Temecula, California-based canine trainer, said that in most states it's declared that these dogs must be retired from drug interdiction duties. This is because of a defense lawyer trying to get results of a search omitted from a trial will say that the dog smelled cannabis and was alerted. Smart drug dealers will have cannabis planted in between their other illegal drug stashes. But this does not seem to be what's going on in Whitehall, Ohio, which is a suburb of state capital Columbus. NBC4's Katie Millard posed the question that now that legal sales of recreational marijuana are underway in the Buckeye State, are local law enforcement canines trained for cannabis detection out of a job? The short answer, no. Millard reported that Whitehall law enforcement officers said 2 out of their 3 dogs are marijuana imprinted. However, this does not make them useless. And officers and officials said having this unit is very beneficial. It's valuable right now, a valuable resource that we have because Rico essentially is a tool for the officer to use, said Whitehall Officer Matthew Perez, Rico's handler. Rico is a Whitehall's
I
newest
can't believe
canine.
they called you a tool, Rico.
I'm a dog. I'm a dog. He is not. He is not trained to detect marijuana. Whitehall Deputy Chief Dan Kelso said that this is something that the department has been working on for years. Once hemp was legalized, most, if not all, training from that point on from anybody that trains dogs stopped imprinting dogs on marijuana. Sniffing out cannabis is not the only thing Whitehall canines are used for. Kelso said that they are looked at as quote unquote dual use dogs. They're imprinted to find drugs, but they also have a secondary use, which is tracking suspects, protecting handlers, finding articles, searching buildings. But once canines are marijuana imprinted, they can't be untrained. If nothing else, the way that they go about traffic stops may change a bit. Regardless, Officer Perez says every time he stops somebody, he asks the same question. Hey, since laws have changed recently, are there any guns, drugs in the car that include marijuana? Perez said, quoting his new routine. If people say that there's no marijuana paraphernalia, meaning, there's no pipes, there's no grinder, there's no marijuana roaches in the car, then it's good to run your dog, even though they are marijuana trained. So if there are those, then we call out the dogs that are not trained on marijuana, like Rico here. So again, that's a very valuable research or resource to have that option. Well, it seems like a bunch of bullshit to me. The real Rico, not this dog Rico. The Columbus Division of Police said that they also have not retired any of their canines. Officers said that they have 11 dogs that are active and on service, and while they can't disclose how many are marijuana imprinted, they say that their handlers and dogs are trained to detect multiple things. Earlier this year, Ohio lawmakers introduced a bill that would give police uh, agencies grants to offset the cost of occurring training and equipping narcotics dogs that do not alert to the smell of cannabis. Kelso said altogether, canines are not cheap. Okay, so cops in Ohio are saying that in the effort to save a few bucks, they are keeping all these service animals on duty that have been trained to do one damn thing. I don't care if they're claiming it's a dual use dog. That's bullshit and that's a lie. This to me is no different than transferring a cop found to be abusing power in one department to another lesser known, where the locals may or may not have the proper resources to fight back legally. And what do you know? Somebody's mother's head gets blown off after she made the damn 911 call asking for help. I'm a huge dog lover. Everybody knows that. I have been my whole life. But in my opinion, keeping these dogs in service is a disaster waiting to happen. And the repercussions from said inevitable disaster will be way more costly than decommissioning or training new slave catching canines
Oh boy.
for other duties. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for hiding nine shoes, hiding nine shoes, hiding nine news, all that shit. Get rid of these damn dogs.
Man, I'll tell you what. I agree with you. I think that old habits die hard in relation to this, with them not wanting to decommission these dogs, especially with that, and it just proves that law enforcement is still intent on busting people for cannabis. Now, I think the best thing to do with these dogs is for the departments to maybe donate them to something like Tunnel for Towers or something like that. That would help.
But what happens when they smell weed? They're gonna attack somebody.
No, they're not going to attack. They're not going to attack.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works, bro. They alert. Yeah, exactly.
You don't know how this dog was trained? You can say that's not how it worked.
I do know how
do you have the chain of custody where this damn dog was trained by a racist ass cop that is like, oh yeah, get that motherfucker right there.
You're just gaslighting.
Old habits die hard, just like Rico and race baiting. You know, we can't get away from it.
It's not race baiting. We have data showing this kind of shit happens time and time again.
So Rico the dog is trained to bite the ass of black people if he smells cannabis in Ohio.
Is that what you're telling us, Rico?
I'm saying get these dogs the hell off the department.
We smell sweet potato pie, huh?
I'm giving.
You know that. There's some Oreos over here.
I just happen to be presenting a solution that I think that would benefit, and I think these police departments would get a lot of great positive press if they didn't donate it to something like Tunnels for Towers or something, to where they would help injured veterans in their homes and whatnot to do basic tasks, and that's not a lot of training that they would need to do for these dogs in relation to repurposing their uses.
I don't trust it.
Well, if they're going to use this dog at all, it can't be for drug identification and alerting. Just because if it alerts to anything that is cannabis related and it's legal to be in the vehicle, and you lose your probable cause to do a search, it's not authorized.
Oh, I have the best idea, actually, Rico. Even better than that. You know what they should do? Have you ever seen how they have like in some prisons that they have like a pet program, where like if you're a good inmate, you get a pet? That's what they should do, is put these pets in like some type of a prison program with inmates, for the inmates, and let them take care of them, and then they would just walk them around the things, and they always would be constantly checking for contraband at the same time.
That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Just saying.
It smells cell phones.
Yep. They smell lithium.
Oh boy.
These dogs can only smell one thing, man.
You just love to.
They smell melon.
They don't
love to get.
They can't differentiate between fentanyl and a cell phone and weed and cocaine. They're not that well trained.
You guys, man.
And if it's a guard dog, then they typically aren't trained to alert. They're there to bite the shit out of you and to protect their owner. If they're told to attack, they do. And if it's a drugs, how many of them are labs? I had a bunch of labs before. You tell them to attack, they just kind of pee themselves.
Oh, boy.
They're not attack dogs.
Most of them are
the
German
arguments
shepherds.
are given are just horse shit.
Yeah. I don't know. These dogs need to be taken off the force. So I think it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. I think it, and all jokes aside, a lot of those things were jokes. You
should say all gaslighting aside too.
You love gaslighting people too, Jason. You know that. That's why I love you too. but all jokes aside, I do believe that this is just a disaster waiting to happen. There's several lawsuits waiting to happen right here, and just like my man Cody, who was a former canine trainer down here in Temecula, man, like these dogs must be decommissioned.
California didn't decommission their drug dogs when legalization happened.
They should have.
Well, they haven't. Just saying.
They should have.
Just
Can we check and see if they're biting people in the ass?
Yeah, I don't know of any reports, and I haven't seen any lawsuits, because we would have covered that on High at 9.
Well, even if it's not a lawsuit, you're gonna get off the case, like he said, like Cody said, man, like a smart.
Well, then it's helpful.
A smart drug dealer. Hint, hint. Plant some weed in with your cocaine and with your fentanyl, and if that dog was alerted by the smell of marijuana, guess what? That is not probable cause.
All right. We're going to extinguish all of this gaslighting because this fire needs to get put out, and we're going to go to a commercial and be right back.
Canine trainer said that, not me, brother.